Story 1. The cruel reality is that half of the population dies. The other half becomes $10 million richer, but that is just the baseline for what poverty means now. Story 2. No. Life is way more worth living than taking a chance of winning 10 million. Waking up every day healthy is a blessing itself. Story 3. No, because double or nothing, your life is never worth it. You have already overcome incredible odds just by being here. Story 4. No, and you should not either. The value of statistical life ranges from $6 million to $20 million. This is the government estimating a human life value. The expected value of the wager you are proposing is below that amount. Story 5. One important factor to consider is whether it is a painless death or if you are going out in sheer agony. If the death is painless, I might choose it, as I am closer to the end of my life than to my birth date. Story 6. No, sure, the money would help a lot. But gambling involves risk, and often you may end up with the unfavorable outcome. Story 7. Sure. It's a win-win for me. Life is difficult and I am tired. Either I die and do not have to force myself to exist, or I get money. Story 8. Depends on when you ask me. Back when I was homeless. Why not? After the time during homelessness when I had to drain my own dental abscess, I would have agreed to worse odds than that. If you ask me today, probably not. I have a more stable life and live with family, including my daughter. Long story short, my partner and her mother died when she was 1.5. I spent a few months as a single parent, staying with my own parents after losing my job. I started using drugs to cope with grief and stress. The drugs made my bipolar manic episodes significantly worse than usual. Eventually, my parents and I mutually agreed I couldn't and shouldn't stay there until I could get myself more together. I signed custody over to my parents because I was not mentally stable enough to care for my daughter at the time. If you ask me again when I'm very old, near or on my deathbed, and want something to leave my family, then why not? Story 9. Some people said the statistics. If you want to pull me in, it should be $21 million with tax-free assurance. Story 10. On first thought, no, because I already have everything I can think of that money cannot buy, and I also live extremely comfortably unemployed. But on second thought, if I take the time to properly plan a nonprofit foundation before I take this chance, it would be a win-win situation. If I survive, I can immediately launch the nonprofit, and if I die, it will be set up so that everything goes towards the foundation. I plan to spend my life creating an impact and helping people in crisis, and these options would allow me to do that much more effectively. Story 11. No. Even difficult times, my life wouldn't be easily bargained. I would rather live it working hard, learning, and experiencing everything it has to offer than to risk it with an instant goodbye. Story 12. I think if 99% of people around the world would take a chance, then I would not. If it were the other way around, then I would go for it. Why? Because it makes more sense for me to use any of those options in those scenarios, and it is more exciting to see what will happen than not. Story 13. Fun fact. If you were a billionaire and faced a 1 in 99 chance of winning $10 million or death, it would not be worth the risk, assuming I did the math correctly. As for me, no. I do not really need that kind of money. Story 14. Yes, $10 million is enough for me to not have to worry about anything, except for hyperinflation of the dollar. If I die, I would also not have to worry about anything anymore. I am not attached to living either, so it is low risk in a sense. Story 15. No. I have children and a wife. In the best case, we receive $10 million, but in the worst case, their breadwinner is dead, and my children are fatherless. Story 16. I am surprised by the number of people taking that risk. I would give away all my money to stay alive and continue living the life I have. Story 17. Capitalism changes the world. What is money for you? Is it to buy food, to have fun, or maybe to just be rich while others are not? Offer that to a naked man living in a cave, and you will find the answer. Story 18. Not worth it. If it was $1 billion, I would consider it, but 10 million is not worth my life. I have too much to gain, and even though it will be a slower process, I can definitely build that kind of wealth. Story 19. Heck no. Those are terrible odds. There are so many things in life that are worth more than any amount of money. Story 20. The question seems off. Is it choosing between a 50-50 chance of $10 million and none versus a 50-50th chance of life or death? Story 21. No way. Even if life is very difficult, I can think of 3 things that can keep me going. 1. Buffets. 2. Adult entertainment. 3. Video games. Even if that is all I had, I am fine. Of course, if I could not have these 3 things, I suppose it is a 50-50 chance. Story 22. Well, it's 5 a.m. and the pain medication is not doing anything for the kidney stone pain. So I will do the 50-50 6 times right now. Story 23. I would, because no matter the result, struggling financially until death is resolved. One way is peaceful and the other is a different kind of peaceful. The child is grown. The family is distant. While I thoroughly enjoy most of life, the reality is I go to restaurants and comedy shows on the weekends, and at some point that will no longer be the motivation I need. Story 24. If the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics is real, you should always end up in the universe where you are not dead. Story 25. Can I pick a date and time to decide? If so, borrow as much money as possible and enjoy life for a few good years. Then buy life insurance with a very high coverage. If you have savings, investments, or even a house you can remortgage, it would last for a long time, especially if you can borrow even more. You might also make a deal with someone to give you extra time, for example, borrowing $2 million with interest to be repaid on a specific date. Story 26. Yes, I like my life. If I lose, I will not regret it. If I win, I will more than double my life. Story 27. Yes. If I get the $10 million, my quality of life will improve drastically, and I will be able to provide whatever care my handicapped brother needs. If I die, so be it. We do not know what being dead will bring, but I am of the mind that we just cease. So I will not know anyway. Story 28. No. My life is worth more than any amount of money. If you spend your entire life in the pursuit of money, you will miss a lot of it. Story 29. Yes, but only if I do not see the outcome of death. If it is not the 10,000, I want to die instantly without noticing. Story 30. The way I read it, I have to choose between definitely dying or not dying and possibly becoming quite rich. My life is pretty mediocre, but it is my life, so I am definitely choosing not dying. The chance of getting a large sum of money is just a nice bonus. English is not my first language, so for it to be a difficult choice, I assume there is just one choice. Risk dying and getting money, or nothing changes and I keep living. I would rather keep living and fighting. Too many close friends and family would be sad at my sudden passing. Taking my luck into account, I would definitely fail this chance. Also, I am too curious about what the future holds and determined not to give up. Fate has been difficult to me, so I will have my own way. Story 31. Absolutely not. The end of my life is the end of any chance for a brighter tomorrow. Story 32. Answer that question by deciding on a heads or tails coin flip, and then flip that coin. No, I am good. Story 33. I honestly would take that chance whether the money was provided or not. You could just give a choice between a bottle of whiskey or death, and I would do it. Story 34. Well, every time I go for a motorcycle ride, there is a 50-50 chance that I come home. So why not take my chances with the money involved? Story 35. I take the money. I can either waste my life working for small amounts and still needing more in a fake meritocracy, or I can take a gamble. Story 36. Follow-up question. Can you do it multiple times? If you were someone who would take the chance, how many times would you decide to do it? Story 37. In Fire Emblem, I regularly miss a 95% chance to hit several times in a row. 50-50 is a guaranteed loss for me. Story 38. Yes, because I would spend the rest of my life wondering what would have happened with that coin flip. That would eat me up inside. Story 39. Absolutely. I face certain death in my future, but can foresee few opportunities of ever being so fabulously wealthy unless taking a gamble like this on a possibly sooner death. Winning the money would alter my quality of life so drastically that it would be worth risking so much. Another way to look at it is that out of the 3 possible outcomes, Winning the money, dying, or refraining from the bet and continuing as before, the two most favorable outcomes are winning the money or dying. It would be worse not to bet and continue to get old and decrepit, knowing that I missed the opportunity to secure a future of wealth and privilege or, alternatively, a secure escape from slow, inevitable decline. Story 40. It does not say that death is immediate and we all die eventually. In theory, you could roll the 50-50 chance repeatedly since you can only die once. Each outcome would simply override the previous one. Story 41. Only if I could go back in time and use that $10 million in my 20s. I would rather be young and rich. Story 42. Sometimes living poorly, whether financially, health-wise, or otherwise, is worse than death. Would you take a 50-50 chance between $10 million or the loss of all limbs, loss of all senses, eternal poverty, loss of all relatives, or something similar? Story 43. No. With that kind of money, you know it is fixed. If you do not know that you are going to win for sure, like holding hostages if you die, look around the poker table. If you cannot see the sucker, you are it. Story 44. Yes. I would also take $10 million for my family in exchange for a 100% chance of death. For me, it is an easy choice. Right now, I have the option of $1 million for death, but in this economy, it is not enough. Story 45. Flip a coin to die or be set for life. No, I am just not that desperate. I will keep making $15 per hour with no benefits until I figure something better out. Story 46. Yes, without hesitation. I am not happy with my life, my location, my level of involvement with my family, or the types of people easily accessible due to my life and location. Conservatives, boaters, sports enthusiasts, alcohol users, cannabis users, and drug users, all very present and almost overwhelmingly dominant in the social spaces and communities connected to myself and some of my family. Don't get me wrong, I have conservative friends who I know aren't like the majority. I'm apolitical and I speak up for humanitarian issues, equality, equitable treatment of all life, and our environment. I'm not against people having various alternative values and priorities as long as they are compassionate with their views. I would take this chance if only to move away from Lake St. Clair and have resources to build and maintain a life I care about, without being near a military installation, Selfridge Air Force Base, or boats and lifestyle groups. I would have resources to bring my own energy and desires to what I consider a beautiful family who goes to Disney each year, has 25 years worth of intentionally invested and prioritized Star Wars and pop culture collectibles in a massive fan cave basement, half a dozen or more cosplays and costumes for conventions and Renaissance fairs, and a beautiful lake house converted from the home our grandfather built for his family about 2 hours driving distance from where I live. If nothing else, I'd do this for a car and a place in or near Lansing, or just a few dozen miles further inland instead of near this miserable lake and its lifestyle groups. I could visit family consistently and actually be part of their lives. Is 50-50 death worth it? Absolutely. Story 47. I have children. Moving on. I am also planning to have $10 million when I die at a nice old age. I will then give it to my children. Story 48. Absolutely. If I get the $10 million, I would enjoy my life and do the things I have always wanted to do. If I died, there is nobody to care, so I do not think anyone would notice my absence. At this point, death seems better than living in this difficult life. Story 49. No, 5 years ago, sure. But since then, I have found a wonderful partner and moved to a place with a great local community. I would like the freedom that 10 million would give me, but I would not want to die if I can practically avoid it. Story 50. No, come on. Life is hard, but sometimes good things can happen too. I would not bet my life on a coin flip. Story 51. I am taking a large insurance policy. If I die, my family will receive a substantial amount of money. If I do not die, I will have 10 million. It is a win-win situation. Story 52. No. Why not, you ask? $10 million is life-changing, don't get me wrong, but it is too much money. And what is the point in living if you are given the money? I see no goal or achievements to aim for to be happy or succeed in life anymore. Plus, I love my life as it is, and $10 million is not worth missing my life. I would rather work and earn the money than get it for free. It feels so much better earning it yourself and succeeding in the numerical side of life. Story 53. I wouldn't because of family, and we are already pretty rich. Not this level of rich, but a big house, new Mercedes, etc. I have nothing left to buy that would make me happy. Everything is top tier, from PC to audio systems, headphones, and virtual reality. Yes, money does not bring true happiness. You are happy for a while after a purchase and for a while after using it. That's all. After that, you want more to feel anything again, but soon there is nothing left to buy. So you are stuck in a life where money and things do not matter at all. If I were single, then I would, as occasions like this do not happen to anyone. People risk their lives for a fraction of it every day. Story 54. Yes, either I die and life stops being difficult, or I get 10 million and life improves. Either way, I win. Story 55. I have a term life insurance policy that pays a significant amount to my wife after my death. $10 million is still significantly higher than that amount. So either way, she is financially set for life. Show me where to sign. Story 56. Because I am a poker player and I have been destroyed at poker tables when I had a 96% advantage in a hand and only a 4% chance of losing. It happens far too often. So, a 50-50 chance of $10 million or death. No thanks. Story 57. Absolutely yes. I would take that 50-50 chance. To me, it is a win-win situation. On one hand, if I win, I instantly gain the resources to live life to the fullest. Financial freedom, the ability to explore the world, help others, chase dreams, and never be stuck in the grind of working just to survive. That is not just life-changing. It is life-defining. On the other hand, if I lose and death is instant and painless, I avoid decades of soul-crushing wage slavery, stress, and the slow decay of living paycheck to paycheck without ever truly living. In a world where many people work their whole lives just to barely get by, this gamble offers either true freedom or release from a system that often feels hopeless and inescapable. It is not about recklessness. It is about choosing meaning over mere survival. Story 58. Depends on the death. If it is just a snap of the fingers and you are gone, no pain or anything, then I would probably take the chance. In that scenario, if I lost, I would not even know. Just poof and gone. Story 59. It could be 1% death and I still would not take it. You have your entire life to get 10 million, but you will never get another life. Story 60. I have people in my life who would pay more than $10 million to keep me alive, so no, I would not take the chance. Story 61. I can be perfectly happy without the additional large amount of money, so why take a chance? Note how inflation has caused the usual $1 million amount to be multiplied by 10. Story 62. No. I might gamble on a 50-50 chance of $5 million or 5 days in county lockup, though. Why would I not go for bigger money? Stakes are way too high. You can live without having $10 million. Story 63. Yes. Because if I win the money, I will have financial freedom and be able to take care of all my siblings and their families. If I lose, no one will miss me anyway. So it is a win-win for me. Story 64. If I receive the $10 million, can I still continue the 50-50 chance until I win the actual prize? Whoever is around me can keep any money I might have won before I died. Story 65. Yes. Death does not scare me. Not being able to support my family does. But I would make sure my life insurance was up to date. Story 66. I would argue that neither option is good for you. I am afraid of dying, so that part is difficult, and just getting a large amount of money often causes problems for people. I will keep moving forward and try to figure this out on my own. Story 67. 50% chance of not being miserable anymore. Let me think. Story 68. I have lived almost half a century. My children are grown. My dog is in his final years. I would take the risk after writing a will. As long as the death is instant, there would be no hesitation. Story 69. I would not. I know there is more than a 50% chance of me earning more than this in my lifetime. If I do not, I will have a smile on my face on my deathbed knowing I gave my everything and did everything I could. Now it is time to say goodbye to this beautiful life and the opportunities it gave me. Story 70. It's a win-win either way. Either I have the money to do what I want and enjoy life, or I don't have to worry anymore about never having enough and simply scraping by. Story 71. I chose my time with family over money a long time ago. I am glad I did. My brother later regretted not spending more time with his children as they were growing up. My investment paid off as my children make me very proud. They have surpassed all my expectations for hard work and emotional maturity. I wish I were more like them. Story 72. No. You can live a happy life without the money. It would not be worth risking that only for money. Story 73. Yes. That is a lot of money that I could donate and give to my family. If I lose, there would not be any major loss. Family and friends would move on fairly quickly. Story 74. 1. Money. 2. I am probably going to die by doing something stupid, like trying to do something Red Bull would do. Story 75. To answer the question as it is written, I would most certainly take the 10 million, but definitely not the death option. To answer it as it was intended, no. I can live without 10 million, but I cannot live without life. I would probably be willing to gamble losing an arm or winning 10 million. I do not need two hands. It is just a convenience. Story 76. We are observing the birth of a modern philosophical singularity created by popular culture. The quick save syndrome. Story 77. For me, personally, not currently. The math swings the answer around the time I turned 55, though. At that age, my friend group, which is already small, begins the exponential curve to zero. Health complications that will substantially affect my quality of life begin to loom. I have 10 more solid years, 15 if I'm lucky, basically living in an alien world as my social circles and relevance shrink into non-existence. So, I can skip the downward spiral or ride it down with $10 million, and either of those options seems pretty solid. Story 78. No. My hopes have not been shattered by adulthood yet, so I believe I can make a good living, even if not in the millions. I have people I want to live for. Story 79. No. I am young enough that, even with good investment strategies under the current inflation climate, I am not entirely confident that $10 million would be enough to live on for the rest of my life, assuming a normal life expectancy. It is certainly a life-changing amount of money, but not so life-changing that it is worth the considerable risk of death for me. Story 80. It depends on whether my parents are alive. If they are, no, because I do not want them to bury me. If they are not, then yes, because I have outlived my parents. Story 81. I am looking at a $70,000 a year pension plus Social Security plus a couple of $1 million for retirement. I would not take those odds. Story 82. If I gave you $30 million, but the catch is that you would die tomorrow, would you accept it? Probably not. Your life is worth more than $30 million. So why risk it for $10 million? Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.